If you're finding it impossible to stick to a low-calorie diet because you are just so freaking hungry, you don't have to suffer in silence. Or maybe not so silence, since your freaking stomach won't stop growling like a lion in heat. I just searched to see if that's even a sound, and I definitely got an eyeful. So maybe don't look that one up, because yeah, your husband might get some strange ideas if he happens to see your search history, and that's awkward. So I don't want you to suffer in silence any longer. Let's get right into the 10 habits that are making you hungrier than you need to be on a low-calorie diet. And the first reason you're so hungry is the fact that you're following a low-calorie diet in the first place. Please allow me to be Captain Obvious here, but going from eating your typical diet to jumping straight into a low-calorie plan is going to make you pretty hungry. If you're starving all day because you choose to eat in a big calorie deficit, stop that, because it is making the process harder. Not only are you on track to regain everything you lose, but you'll probably gain even more, since a diet that's too low in calories slows down your metabolism. Most of us already know that very low calorie diets are impossible to stick to longer than a few weeks. Because when you are so freaking hungry that you would eat your hand if it wasn't so hard to chew through the skin, who wants to stick to that? Look, I left bite marks. There's even more, since low-calorie diets make it nearly impossible to keep off what you lose. That's because cutting calories too low leads to not only fat loss, but you'll also lose muscle in the process. But who cares about losing muscle when you just want this gone? Well, there goes your metabolism, because you are in a hurry and you didn't care about maintaining this. Here's the truth about cutting calories for weight loss. Every time you cut calories, your metabolism adapts. When you don't prioritize at least maintaining the muscle you've got, it adapts even more, which means you won't be in a deficit for long before your gal stops moving. Then you gotta cut calories again if you want that to budge. If you slashed calories too low at the beginning because you were in a hurry, well, now there's nowhere to cut from when you reach a weight loss stall. So quit rushing the process with very low calorie diets that aren't sustainable. But still, weight loss is about eating less than you burn. So you gotta cut calories somewhere, right? But not here. Last week, I bought these sugar-free puddings for my kids, thinking that they were the regular junk. But my husband quickly pointed out that they're actually the sugar-free junk, which means two things. One, even if I wanted them to, which I don't, but even if I bought these on purpose, my kids would never go near the sugar-free pudding after a lifetime of the regular stuff. And two, sugar-free means less calories. So maybe I could add some protein powder and mix up a nice low-calorie snack for myself, right? But that was a big mistake.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
Not only did the sweetener in these low-calorie puddings make me so hungry that I was back to chewing on my hand, but then I realized one of the sweeteners is aspartame, which causes horrible migraines. And that junk you should avoid on a low-calorie diet isn't limited to the sugar-free crap sold to the Weight Watchers crowd, because even artificially sweetened protein bars can leave you ravenously hungry just a few minutes after eating them. Like these. I just look at these and automatically start chewing on my hand because I know it's coming. While everyone is different and different foods work for different people, if you don't have a lot of calories to spare, wasting them on processed bars that your body doesn't even recognize as food probably isn't the best choice. Even though I play around with dessert recipes like protein brownies, protein ice cream, and chocolate donut holes, I do so with the understanding that real food protein always comes first. So if I get my quota of real food protein for the day and I have some calories left over, that's where high protein treats fit into my plan. Speaking of real food, always go for the real thing instead of fancy processed versions like these scalloped potatoes. Sure, the packages make these potatoes look delicious, but 300 calories of this only makes you want more. And they don't even give you a whole lot more. 4 servings my ass. Whereas 300 calories of the real thing can help you feel full for hours, and it's way more cost effective. Plus, when you top your real food with even more real food, you're giving your body the nutrients it needs, which means you won't be searching through cabinets for more fake food right after dinner. This next one is a wee controversial when you are a former low-carb girl living in a carb-shaming world. While I'm not telling you that you need to skip the bread or chips entirely, eating them at the beginning of your meal when you eat eat out is a big mistake. That's exactly why restaurants give these out for free, because they know that starting any meal with nutrient-void carbs makes even the most determined dieter overeat. So not only will you have some chips and you'll have some more, but you'll probably finish your entire dinner and then have room for dessert. Then you live the rest of the night in a state of shame and regret, vowing to never eat carbs again, at least until next week. But you don't have to swear off of your favorite carbs forever. I mean, what kind of life is that? It's a sad one. A sad, sad meat-chugging life, even though you just want some freaking chips and salsa kind of life. And you can have them, but save them for the end of your meal when you're not starving and when you have better control over how much you eat. Starting meals with protein and veggies helps control your blood sugar spike, which means you only may want a few chips to satisfy your crunchy cravings. Or you might realize you've had enough and pass altogether, especially when you look at your food log first and realize you already hit your calorie budget for the day. So you gently remind yourself that you've got goals to reach, so you push those chips aside for another day, because that's the responsible thing to do. But here's the thing, not eating the carbs when you really want the carbs is also making you hungrier whenever you cut calories for weight loss. Because if you have a desperate craving for chips and salsa, but you settle for cucumbers instead, how long will it be before you find yourself face first in a basket of chips? Then you think about the chips and obsess about the chips, you daydream about the chips and cry about the chips. Wait, that's just me? Until you finally give in and eat way too many chips. Now, I'm not saying you should give in every time a craving strikes, because what's the point of being on a diet? But depriving yourself of everything you love in the name of weight loss backfires. And it always backfires in the worst possible way.
Excuse me, ma'am, would you like more chips?
Yes, please. Also, don't call me ma'am, little punk. Instead of making certain foods completely off limits, you can save room in your calorie budget for your favorite treat at the end of the day. Make a deal with yourself that as long as you hit your protein goal and you stay within your calorie budget, then indulging in one of your favorites doesn't mean you failed your diet. Going from the mindset that certain foods are bad to having the ability to enjoy all of your favorites guilt-free is a game changer when it comes to a sustainable fat loss plan with sustainable results. Something else that's making you hungrier on your low-calorie diet are food associations. Like if you get a large tub of popcorn every time you see a movie, that right there is 1,500 calories that I bet you didn't track. But most people know that telling yourself you won't eat the popcorn might work for the first 1 or maybe 2 movies, but by the third, guess who's back to chomping on popcorn? Or if you grab a square of dark chocolate every time you pour a cup of coffee and then you drink like 5 cups of coffee each day, those food associations can add up to a weight loss stall. But instead of ditching the coffee or skipping the movie, why not just create new food associations? Instead of opting for movie theater popcorn at 1,500 calories a pop, have a big bag of Skinny Pop instead for only 35 calories per cup. And if you feel guilty for sneaking in your own healthy popcorn, it is okay. You are still more than welcome to spend $12 on a diet soda. Pop. It's pop. I'm from the Midwest and no one says soda because it's pop. Or instead of grabbing a few squares of chocolate every time you pour coffee, heat up a protein donut hole that helps you work towards your protein goal instead. Speaking of coffee, coffee can be a useful tool on a fat loss diet. You know, as long as you're not downing chocolate with every sip. And while some caffeine makes a great appetite suppressant, plus caffeine is great when used as a pre-workout, overdoing caffeine can actually be making you hungrier. Because every time you sip coffee, your cortisol spikes. And while this can be helpful in smaller amounts, overdoing caffeine can lead to a big cortisol spike, which can also spike hunger. If you use caffeine too close to bedtime, that is even worse, because now you're affecting sleep, which will sabotage your fat loss efforts even more. So if you use caffeine to aid in fat loss or just to aid in a functional life, just do so responsibly. And while caffeine can put you in the mood for an amazing workout, keep in mind that overdoing any form of exercise can leave you ravenously hungry. And yes, that even includes lifting weights. When I was on a mission to drop 40 pounds in 2022, strength training became a huge part of my fat loss plan. Ever since I learned that building muscle was key to a sustainable fat loss plan, all of a sudden, This girl who barely glanced at this part of the gym wanted to build all of the muscle. But hitting the gym 6 to 7 days each week made me so freaking hungry. Even eating 2,200 calories per day wasn't enough to tame my appetite. So while building muscle is still key to my fat loss plan, I cut strength training back to only a few days each week during my fat loss phase. That way I keep the muscle I have while not overeating on my fat loss diet. And the same thing goes for cardio. While some cardio is a great addition to any fat loss plan, it can even help with appetite suppression. Going all out with your cardio efforts could be leading you to overeat. But I still keep in moderate activities like walking, since walking is a great appetite suppressant. While you can incorporate more movement into your day any way that works for you, I find walking fasted first thing helps me push my fast even later. And when I fast for 14 to 15 hours each day, I get all of the benefits of a gentle fast without the downsides that can come with fasting too much. So not only does a moderate walk help suppress my appetite, but it's much easier to eat less during the day since I'm taking advantage of the natural appetite suppressing hormones from a 14 to 15 hour fast. Also, it's counterintuitive, but if you're currently sedentary, increasing your activity not only helps with the calories outside of the fat loss equation, but it can boost your efforts with the calories inside too, since you'll naturally eat less. And since this walking fasted combo makes it so much easier to stick to my fat loss plan, I made an entire video about how I use it as part of my 3-step system to control hunger while losing fat. Since controlling hunger is the #1 fat loss obstacle most people face, this might be the most helpful thing you watch for a successful fat loss plan. This is the same system that helped me drop 40 pounds last year, and it's the system I still use to maintain everything I lost while continuing to improve my health and fitness.